Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Heat Wave. 32 teams in 32 days. Today, we are finishing off the NFC North with the Chicago Bears. We are breaking down every single fantasy relevant player on the Bears and on every single team in the NFL over the next 32 days, or in the past 32 days. We've reached the halfway point. I am your host, the Fantasy Plug, Tim Petropoulos, editor-in-chief of BrotoFantasy.com and the Fantasy Football by Broto app. I am joined by the king of this fantasy thing and lead fantasy analyst for Broto, Mr. Michael Petropoulos, and the genius of fantasy, the Broto lead data analyst, and the developer of the Fantasy Football by Broto app, Mr. Santiago Casanova. Speaking of the app, download the Fantasy Football by Broto app for free today and get every tool you need to become your own expert and dominate fantasy football. Every stat you hear from us today can be found in the app, where you can find player cards with every single stat you need, fantasy player grades, usage charts, player comps, start sit tool, who to draft tool, podcast consistency charts, game logs, coaching tendencies, articles, rankings, waivers, and advanced statistics, including through throw value, true throw value, true target value, true performance value, adjusted air yards, and true matchup rankings. This app is free because of our patrons over at patreon.com/BrotoFantasy. A big thank you to our patrons. You are the machine that keeps Broto pumping. Join now to support the show, the app, and join the best community in the world. As little as $3 a month gets you an extra waiver wire show, access to BRoto Leagues, proven DFS cash game optimizers, access to cheat sheets, private team consultations, unique fantasy tournaments and leagues, and access to the greatest community in the world, not just the fantasy world, the BRoto community on Discord. If you enjoy the show, if you enjoy the app, if you enjoy the series, please consider joining. Your contributions go a long way. Now, today, we are going to jump into the Bears. Not looking good. Not looking good at all. Matt Eberflus is the brand new head coach. He was the defensive coordinator for the Colts previously. Now, you know, some would say if you have a young quarterback and you've been hiring defensive coordinators for a while, although I guess Matt Nagy was offensive, whatever. Matt Eberflus, I'm not saying he's not a good coach or he's not a good guy, and I'm not saying that everyone wanted this job, but damn. If you're a Bears fan, you have to be a little disappointed that you didn't go for an offensive mind with the young quarterback at toe. But they do have a young offensive mind in Luke Getsy, who's the offensive coordinator. The last 2 years, he was the passing game coordinators and quarterbacks coach for the Green Bay Packers. He was a quarterbacks coach for 3 years, for the Green Bay Packers. Before that, he was at Mississippi State, where he was the offensive coordinator. Before that, he was at the Packers for 4 years as a wide receivers coach. So all over the Packers offense, and now going to the Chicago Bears. This is a completely different situation than we had. So I'm not going to go over last year's stats. They don't really matter because Justin Fields was not the starting quarterback for most of the year. And it just, it doesn't matter because it's a brand new situation. Some of the people they gained, or the above. Jimmy Graham, the tight end, is no longer there. Jason Peters, the left tackle, is no longer there. They also had a bunch of different defensive losses. This team is gearing up for a terrible season. I'll tell you that. Ryan Griffin, the tight end, comes over from the Jets. N'Keal Harry comes over in a trade from the Patriots. Byron Pringle, wide receiver from the Chiefs, comes over as well. They also signed guard Lucas Patrick. James O'Shawn-Hennessy, your favorite dude, is also added to the Bears.
Nice.
Darrington Evans, the running back who was everyone's Twitter favorite because he mentioned fantasy football one time on Twitter. Tajay Sharp comes over from the Bears as well. Trevor Siemian, Dante Pettis. They're just taking a shot at a whole bunch of guys.
Good.
Huh?
We're good with these names, man.
I mean, I got to say who's on the team. The fuck? Like
Velus Jones.
I mean, no, that's the rookie situation. Yeah. Velus Jones is they also have Equinemius St. Brown. You're make me switch to the same round, but they also signed David Moore from the Packers. All right. They lost Jakeem Grant. Okay, Michael. Is that okay with you? Is it okay that I'm mentioning these things? They lost
Crinkleberry, bro. You forgot.
They lost Damian Williams to the Falcons. All right. And of course, they lost Allen Robinson to the Bears. which is the big one. And Marquise Goodman to the Seahawks.
To the Rams.
Yeah.
But yeah.
To the Rams, yes. So lots of turnover, a bunch of shit that made the team worse. This team is not making it like what a travesty this fucking team is. To be honest, it's a shame. It's shameful what they're doing to Justin Fields, and I don't even want to talk about it. Justin Fields.
Look,
go ahead.
Justin Fields was not good last season, and make all the excuses you want. That's just a fact. And that's not to say he can't get better, right? Like Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson were also bad last season. But the excuses that Justin Fields get, there's like a Justin Fields apologist committee. I swear. Everyone, like, if they like Justin Fields before the draft, they act like last season never even happened. There's a crazy confirmation bias plastered everywhere from the pro Justin Fields people out there who were just acting like his rookie season never happened. He actually started 10 games, Tim, which was more than I remembered him starting. He threw 10 interceptions in that time to just 7 touchdowns. And look, during that time, he was 6th in rush attempts, 5th in rushing yards among QBs, and that's where everyone is like, yeah, he's going to be running a lot. He had 4 QB1 performances because of his legs, but he also had 5 performances outside the top 24, was points per game outside the top 24. And what did the Bears do to help him? They signed Byron Pringle, Equinemius St. Brown, drafted college special teamer Velus Jones. Like, they let Allen Robinson walk. He had an 11.8 sack percentage last year as well. Sacks obviously are an offensive line stat, but they're also a quarterback stat. That's the worst of any quarterback since Dwayne Haskins, RIP Dwayne Haskins. Like, he gets sacked too much. He holds the ball a lot. He has a really bad supporting cast. People are drafting Justin Fields. His ADP right now is QB 17 in the hopes that he could run for like 100 yards a game. It's I don't know, man. Like at QB 17, like Trevor Lawrence got at least the Jaguars. Travis Etienne's coming back. They signed Kirk and Jones and Evan Ingram. They tried to help him. The Jets brought in offensive line help, Garrett Wilson, Uzomah, and Conklin. The Bears were just like Breece Hall. The Bears were just like, oh well, Justin Fields is all right.
And
let's
actively removed weapons from him, like not just actively removed it, and then took a bunch of flyers. Like the reason why I told you about all those wide receivers that were added, they just have a bunch of flyers and a bunch of dudes that have been mediocre for years.
Yeah. And look, if you're in a 2 QB league and you want to take, or a Superflex league and you want to take the upside shot on Fields, you just know it's going to be a very bouncy ride. Like he'll have games where he rushes a lot and is a good fantasy asset. He's going to have games where he's trash and he's going to be outside the top 24, just like he was his rookie season. Like anyone drafting him thinking he's going to be a viable QB1 weekly starter, I think they're wrong. I'm not into Justin Fields this season as anything more than like a streamable, volatile quarterback in the right situations. Like if you want to pair Justin Fields with like Kirk Cousins and play the matchups there, maybe that makes sense. But then you got to carry 2 quarterbacks. Just there's too many people. Like someone tweeted the other day, I forget who it was, but goodness gracious, Justin Fields has a higher ceiling than Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and someone else. And I was like, well, you suck at fantasy football.
Holy.
Yeah. Like, all right, you suck at fantasy football. Please join my league. Like, and that's the stuff people like to share as analysts because, if they're wrong, it was bold. If they're right, look what I tweeted this time last year. So don't go after bullshit like that.
It was fun. It's funny. And if, someone's listening to this right now and you think we're talking about you, sorry about that. But this one in particular, I forget who it was, and it could be someone who's a fan of ours. That's why I want to just preface it with that. But they were like, they posted the ESPN rankings, and I know the rankings of high school athletes, and everyone had Arch Manning as number 1, except ESPN number 2. And someone retweeted and was like, ESPN's finally getting bold. It's like, but what if they're just wrong? Like you're giving them credit. Like everyone else thinks this guy's number 1. They're saying number 2. Like, I know it's not a big difference, but if they're wrong, like that's not them being bold. It's just them being wrong to an obvious right
for
answer.
Clicks.
I'm ranking Archie Manning as number 1 just because of his Arch Manning, just because he's a Manning. I don't know about high school footballers, but sign me up.
He's got
Right,
he's got a Manning frame, bro. He looks like a
Yeah.
Manning in his build, like long neck and his shoulders. Like
I just need to see the forehead, and I'll let you know.
the Mannings all have like really conspicuously not broad shoulders. Like their necks just continue all the way down to their torsos. Maybe that's why they have such strong arms. But let's get into who he's throwing to,
man.
because I think it's Darnell Mooney and no one else in terms of the wide receivers. We'll talk about tight ends in a bit, but I mean, it's got to be Darnell Mooney, and like, there's
Yeah.
no reason to even consider anyone else at all. N'Keal Harry, Quinemy St. Brown, these guys, like, there's no reason to even.
Byron Pringle, bro.
Byron
Sleeper.
Pringle. Once you pop,
People forget he's old as balls already. Like a dude's old.
Yeah. That's a joke, by the way.
or
not a
like
sleeper.
Byron Wrinkles.
Oh, yo.
Anyway.
Yeah, he has that wide receiver 101 ADP. Pringle does, so that should tell you all you need to know.
Yeah.
101 sounds like you're saying first pick in the draft. 100.
No. Wide receiver 101, like
Imagine
100 plus.
number 1 overall pick, Byron Pringle.
Byron Pringle. No, but like I want to highlight how inefficient these Bears were, and we'll get to that when we get to Titans as well. But Darnell Mooney had a 25.8 target share. That was insane.
Big.
6th overall in target share, 10th overall in total targets. He was 10th in total targets. He was 31st in points per game. Wide receiver 25, not even good for a wide receiver 2. He was a wide receiver 3 with top 10 targets. That's ridiculous. And like Mike pointed out, that's mostly Justin Fields, because he started, was it 10, 11 games? 10 games last season. That's the majority of games. I guess you're getting a mixed sample, but 31st in points per game when he had the 10th most targets and 6th best target share. That's insane. That's insane.
It makes sense. It's true. And he outperformed his true target value. Is 49th in true target value. So those
he's
numbers
a good player
that he put up, right? He overperformed compared to what Justin Fields was giving him to work with.
Right. So true target value, for those who don't know, is it takes account who's throwing the ball, and he was Tim said 49th, 47th. So that's where he was expected to finish in points per game, and he killed that. He finished 31st. So that's where you can see that the player is still good, but the opportunities he's getting are so bad that it still makes him a bad pick, and nothing's changing here. So he's the wide receiver 1, but with terrible opportunities. And then the other options are Byron Pringle, Velus Jones, N'Keal Harry. We've seen N'Keal Harry. And then for Velus Jones, what we haven't seen, we do have some comps from the app, and his comps are
probably no names, right?
No, actually names you recognize, but uninspiring at best. So we have Terry McLaurin, Paris Campbell, TJ Graham, Kadarius Toney, which is funny, and Greg Little. But
better than I expected, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, but that's because he's like 25. He played a lot in college. He's a senior and just came out. That's not what you want to see. Like I think pretty sure they have 1 top 24 performance between the 5 in their careers. So yeah, uninspiring at best is where I'm gonna leave it.
If you're looking at Mooney too, last year he was up and down to the point of he was only a wide receiver 1, and you consider this, he had 25% of the target share. He was only a wide receiver 1 3 times. To put that into perspective, he finished outside the top 4 wide receiver 7 times. So he was up and down, but he was down more than he was up.
Yeah, I mean, that's a Justin Fields issue too. Like the hope is Justin Fields gets better his second season in the league, which I'd expect him to at least improve a little bit. But yeah, for all those reasons, I do think Darnell Mooney is more of a pass at ADP for me. I know there's a lot of people who love Darnell Mooney and all this, but like I've drafted him a few times in best ball leagues, but only once he was past his ADP, and I was like, all right, let me get a few shares just in case Justin Fields and Mooney end up being better than I expect them to. But like in a redraft league, like your home league, something like that, if it's one big league, like he's not someone I'm like actively targeting right now.
I will also say this: the Chicago Bears currently project to have even with their draft pick, the second worst offensive line in the league. So you're talking about the second worst offensive line in the league with a second-year quarterback who struggled, with Darnell Mooney and a bunch of mystery men. Not good so far. And we're going to get to the running backs, but first let's take a break. We're going to go to our BRoto tip of the week. day, excuse me. I'm so used to doing these weekly episodes. We got daily episodes, baby. 32 and 32. Broto tip of the week day. I did it. I just explained why I shouldn't make that, and then I made
Goodness
that.
gracious, Tim.
That was just me. That was just me. If you know me, that didn't surprise you. With that being said, Broto comps, one of my favorite features of the app. Cass, why don't you take us through it?
Yep.
This is one of my most ambitious and better projects where we take college stats and their rookie stats for the case of sophomores and all the players, only rookie stats for, only college stats for the rookies. And you generate comps, like who is this player similar to? So for players that maybe don't watch college football or don't know who to draft in their fantasy league, this is huge. Like I'm the one of those people that doesn't watch college football. So if you check Garrett Wilson, who are his comps? Who is he similar to? What can we expect? We can expect Jerry Jeudy, Corey Coleman, Percy Harvin, Sterling Shepard, Nelson Aguilar. So not the best, but also you can see he's not terrible, right? That's the point. Get an idea of what type of player he is, what kind of
Let's see
output
Mooney.
you can expect. Let's see Mooney. All right.
Yeah, let's see Mr. Mooney here. So as you can see, you put anyone you want.
Another thing for the
Yeah, that's a little rough.
Even with a good year last year.
But
I mean,
it wasn't
Allen-
his rookie year. That's
You're
not
right.
taken into account. We only
You're right.
check rookie year.
You're right.
Shepard
so-
and Woods are pretty solid, and even
Yeah,
Allen Hurns had a
yeah.
year or two. But I was gonna add the thing about these comps too is that they aren't these are unique because every other like comp site you see is he's 6'5". Oh look, he's compared to a 6'5" tight end. They have to be good because they're tall. No,
Right.
this is very much statistically based as well.
Of
So
course.
you get like Darnell Mooney, and like they'll compare a shorter wide receiver to a bigger wide receiver because these wide receivers, like Allen Hurns is 6'3", Darnell Mooney's 5'10" or 5'11". They get compared because this is a statistic breakdown. It's not really a look, he's 5'11", he's 5'11", they must be similar. Like
I mean,
type
and
bullshit.
that's not to say we don't take into account height or weight at all. We do.
No, of
But
course, yeah.
it's just it's part of the equation, right? We take all these stats, all these measurables, all these everything, and each gets a weight based on how predictive it is. And height's not like super predictive, so
Right.
it doesn't have a lot of weight.
Exactly.
And then we take like after the weights, we take the the 5 most similar players with a Euclidean distance, if you want to get technical. And that's what this percentage represents, how close they are to one another in all these weighted categories.
So
Right,
you got people
exactly.
like Jeff Janis, who people loved for years because he's tall and big, and that means he must be good. Look at his comps of tall, big players, as
Right.
if you're tall and big, you have to be a great fantasy player. Jeff Janis isn't going to be on this
Or
list.
Nikhil Harry. What
no.
about Nikhil Harry? What are we
Nikhil
looking
Harry.
at with Nikhil Harry? Someone that is on the Chicago Bears as well.
Not great.
So, so you see,
Well, he had an abysmal rookie season.
but we saw a
which
lot of
knocked him
people.
down.
That
But we
was,
saw a lot of people comping Nikhil Harry to Des Bryant because 6'2", 225.
I'm not gonna lie. I checked just out of curiosity one day how Nikhil Harry comped. If you take out his rookie season, he was much much better, bro.
Yeah,
He was,
he was a
model
strong
buster.
prospect.
Yeah, he was a model buster.
Yeah, well, didn't work out, and now our
Nope.
models predicted
It's
the bust.
the model's better for it, right?
Yeah, this isn't
Data
as
was
short of,
happening. Data
this isn't
happened.
this isn't as short as an episode I would is expect because I'm about to fight with you guys. I think
Oh no.
David Montgomery. I am a huge pass on David Montgomery this year. I just think that you have a guy here in David Montgomery, and we're talking about running backs right now. You have a guy who has been inefficient, who has not lit the world on fire, who, yes, has had good games, but for the most part has underperformed, has never been the receiving threat that they want him to be. Now, you have a new coaching staff that has no loyalty to you. You have a kid in Khalil Herbert who outperformed you in when he had the chance. You have the worst second, or at least second worst according to PFF offensive line coming into 2022. You have Justin Fields who's going to rush the ball himself. None of that. And you're going to have a weak offense that's going to pass the ball a lot. You're not going to score a lot. None of that makes me want the running back on that team. Even I mean, you could put CMC on this fucking team, and I'd be like, I got to wait till the third round. Like for real though, like it doesn't even matter. I'm being a little bit, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but
Facetious.
like we're talking about like a guy who's already not good who's proven now he's a mediocre running back in every metric, and you're putting him in a terrible situation, and you expect him to be good. It doesn't make any sense to me. I think there's a chance Khalil Herbert takes over the starting role by the end of the year. I really do believe that because there's no loyalty, and David Montgomery has been mediocre at best.
Look, David Montgomery is David Montgomery, right? Like, he is who he is. He's perfectly fine, and that's about it. He's a 1,000% a safe pick. You're not drafting David Montgomery as a league winner.
Disagree. I disagree. I think he's the opposite of safe. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I think he's a safe pick. I don't know where you're coming out with Khalil Herbert taking over a job because he had a couple good games when Montgomery got hurt, but relax there.
Ain't no loyalty here.
David Montgomery
if you look at these stats by David Montgomery, they're just like
me roll my eyes.
He was 9th in rushing attempts and literally nothing else it jumps off the page at all. He was 58th in points per opportunity excluding touchdowns. He was 61st in yards per carry. He was 21st in receiving yards. He was 27th in true target value.
Man, he had 10 of 12 games last season as a top 30 RB. If that's not consistently average and safe, I don't know what to tell you.
You picked him in the second round. That's not safe. That's losing. Third round. Excuse me. Third round. Like, that's not safe. That's losing your league.
I'm confused as to what you're arguing with me about. Because, like, I don't really like David Montgomery. All I'm saying is that you can't get... Like, if you're choosing him, it's because you're choosing safety and not upside, and I don't choose players like that. Like, I'm not picking David Montgomery either. I feel like you're arguing with, like, yourself at this point. All I'm saying is to say he's not safe is a little crazy. That's all I'm saying. He's a safe pick. He had, like I said, 10 of 12 games, a top 30 RB option. Like, he was RB 15 in points per game last year. He was actually 7th in 2020, but I see people pointing to that as like upside, but that was when Terry Cohen got injured right before the season started, and they didn't really have a backup option. And DeMont was funneled targets because of that. He had 68 targets in 2020, only 51 last year. This target percentage dropped down from 11 to 9.4%. He was a B fantasy grade last season. He's a B fantasy player, right? Like, if you want to draft him as your RB2, whatever. I'm not really interested in it. Like, unless he drops a round or two past ADP, David Montgomery is not someone I'm ever really interested, just because I want more upside out of the guys I'm drafting.
I'm surprised Tim's so adamant about this because he's basically Josh Jacobs, bro. Like,
exactly. I hate Josh Jacobs.
Exactly.
I don't like any of them. I don't like either of these guys.
Are we all agreeing here? I'm confused.
Yeah, I think so. We're all passing on David Montgomery?
Generally, yes.
Yeah, well, I'm just doing it with more fervor. All right, because like fuck this guy. Like he's just, dude. I'm sorry, but they was like, yo, this is the next Kareem Hunt, and I ate the poison of he's the next Kareem Hunt, and then this happens. He sucks. He's been a suck.
I've never.
He's been a suck.
Montgomery.
And like he gets some good. He's in the top 30 every once in a while because he gets crazy volume, but if that volume goes away, what are you left with? And you're not. I don't know. This isn't Matt Nagy. You're not guaranteed that volume like you used to be in the past. Something that I am interested in is Kolkamet. Now, Kolkamet did not score a touchdown last year, but that's got to change, right? And young quarterback, not too many weapons, safety blanket. I think Kolkamet has a chance here. How do you guys feel about Kolkamet?
It comes back to who's throwing the ball, right? Because he does have a pretty elite target share. If you look at him, it was I think 6th amongst tight ends. Let me check my numbers. It was 8th in total targets, 7th in target share. So 17.2 target share. That's very, very good for a tight end. But we see the Darnell Mooney example where that's not good enough on the Bears. He was top in all those volume categories, but when you look at the efficiency, 28th in points per opportunity, excluding touchdowns, 27th in true target value, and he did like outscore those statistics by not by a lot. He was 25th in points per game, but that's where you see a little bit of the talent coming through. Maybe if he scored 3-4 touchdowns, that would bump him up to 20. Let's say 20. That's still not good enough for a tight end. That's awful. And he's being drafted as tight end 13 right now per sleeper. And not even a tight end 1 is mediocre, and I don't think he's gonna reach tight end 13. With all
Yeah.
due respect, I do like the guy. I think he's in a terrible situation right now.
I'm with you, Cass. Kolkamet's ADP is like very confusing to me. People are just expecting this breakout as if last year should have been the breakout
Right,
from a
right.
target standpoint.
Come
like
on.
93 targets.
He's a
That's eighth.
He's a
Tim.
rookie. He's a rookie.
He was
He's
not a
No,
rookie.
he was a
and then
sophomore.
He was a
It
sophomore.
was second guy. Yeah.
Yes.
Fine. He was a second year guy. Tight ends take a while to
Tim,
break out.
From a volume perspective, he saw 93 targets, which was 8th among tight ends. He finished with 60 receptions and 612 yards, both 12th among tight ends. He had the 12th most receptions and the 12th most receiving yards, and finished 25th in PPR points per game.
He didn't
Insane.
among
he
tight
didn't catch a
ends.
touchdown.
He did not catch a touchdown, correct?
So that's not going to happen
threw
again.
7 touchdowns in 10 games. Are we expecting Justin Fields to throw more than like 18 touchdowns this year? I don't know if he will. What's his
Kolkamet-
Vegas over under? It can't be that much higher.
Here's what you're missing though. Target percentage, 7th in the league.
That's not what I'm missing at all. I just said that.
Red zone opportunities, 11th in the league. That is something that you build on. That's something that's called a building block.
Quote me from some true target value, bro. That's
like
what interests me right now.
25th, I believe, is true.
27th.
27th.
So it's like,
PPO XCD is
but
28th.
all these stats that say, yeah, he's a buy, but he was the 25th tight end last year from those stats, which means he has to improve drastically to be the tight end 13. And I don't know if he's going to improve drastically from the 8th most targets, the 12th most receptions, and 12th most receiving yards. Like, unless you're expecting Kolkamet to be a top, 5 target share tight end this year, I don't know if he's going to end as a weekly tight end option that everyone wants him to be.
I don't think that's out of the question.
Maybe.
You're not talking about tight ends, man.
I'm passing on him.
If you can guarantee me 3 to 5 catches out of my tight end per week, that's more guaranteed than you're getting out of anything else. And you're getting Komet so late.
Not
I don't
really.
think his
3 to
ADP
5, bro. Come on.
All right, fine. 4 to 6 then. If
Anywho,
your tight end got 4 catches a game, you'd be hyped. If you're not taking one of the
really, that's 68 receptions. That's Kolkamet last year, 25th overall in points per game, Tim.
And now he's gonna score touchdowns.
Okay, that's one. Say he scores 4 touchdowns. That's 1 point per game more. 1.5 points per game more. Not a game changer. Still the same.
mean, yes, but enough to get him in the top 12. Anyway,
doubtful. Anyway,
we'll see.
Anyway. Kolkamet is not my bold predictions. My bold predictions, Michael's not going to like it. He's going to think it's stupid. He's going to be like, oh, well, I think Khalil Herbert is the starting running back of the Bears by the end of the year. Fight me.
I'll go with... Man, I just don't like this Bears offense. Everybody on the Bears offense is just massively bleh.
Yeah.
That's my bold prediction. No one is ever excited about starting a Bear next season.
Massively bleh is a oxymoron.
I'm gonna build upon that because it's just kind of that, just quantifying it, right?
Cass, get your hair in the big box while you're talking about it. How about that? Real quick.
Good point.
Those luscious locks.
There you go. Yeah, get that hair in the big box.
Anyway, so the Bears are not gonna have a running back 1. They're not gonna have a wide receiver 1. They're not gonna have a wide receiver 2. They're not gonna have a tight end 1 at all. That's a bold prediction. QB1, I'm on the fence, but the rest
rushing appeal.
Yeah, the rushing appeal. That doesn't help anyone else. That's just Justin Fields.
This ended up being
long.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, this ended up being one of our longer episodes.
Yeah,
at BrotoFF Tim, at BrotoFF Mike, at BrotoFF Casanova, at BrotoFF Jason, Psych Ward FF, at Broto Fantasy, at FF by
Broto.
F by Broto. Yeah, there you go. And yeah, YouTube.com/Broto Fantasy, all the good stuff. We're gonna see you next time with a different division.
Later.